What is going on, folks? It's good to see you guys. I am waking up, uh, honestly, a little later now, so I am a little disoriented. But I was thinking about this, and I was like, political polls are actually very inaccurate, and I want to tell you why. And this is what I think. It's not technically factual because I have no proof, but let's think about it. So right now, Trump has a 2% lead in New Jersey, right? It's like 45%, I think. Trump, it may have changed already, but saw a video that said 45% Trump, 43% Biden. The thing is, those numbers may be more in favor of Trump than anything. So out of all the people they called, ask yourself the question, is somebody how likely is somebody who is going to vote for Trump? I'm sorry, I can't even form a sentence today. I'm turning into my boy Joe Biden. But how likely is it that the person who votes for Trump is going to actually take a poll? I know I don't. If a pollster calls me, I don't answer because I don't like pollsters. Most Trump voters don't. So the thing is, that 45% may be actually a lot higher in reality, for what people want. Most Democrats love pollsters. So Democrats who get a pollster calling them, they're like, "Oh yes, obviously Joe Biden." But the people who are voting for Trump, like myself, most of us just hang up the phone. We're just like, "Screw you. You're part of the problem." And honestly, but a lot of people I think are also starting to answer those polls saying "fuck Joe Biden" and we're voting for Trump is what's happening. So, um, but I will say a lot of the time, a lot of people who like Trump, we don't really. I don't, at least. I can't speak for everybody, obviously, but I have such a distrust of pollsters, the government, and all that shit that I will happily hang up the phone if a pollster calls me. I am tired as hell today. Ooh, but but yeah, I think doing a shirtless episode feels good. Got to get my titties some air. Um, no, I just think that a lot of the times, this is the reason. The real reality is the polls are usually wrong because, like I said, Democrats, people who vote Democrat, tend to be into things like taking polls or being overly political. Um, and politics is more of a sport for people who vote Democrat. From what I'm able to see, this is my analysis. I could be very wrong, but people like me who vote for Trump, we're not really all that deep in the political world. We just like Trump because he's a big middle finger to that world. We do believe that there is corruption at a deep level, for sure. Um, we a lot of us feel like we're being lied to, and not just feel. There's now proof all over the place. It's not even a conspiracy anymore. And but anyway, if we question the government, we're called conspiracy theorists and terrible people. And no, that's not true. We're people with working brains who just want to get to the bottom of things, and that's it. Um, so yeah, a lot of the polls that you see, pretty wrong. Even though they are in favor of Trump, I honestly think that, hypothetically speaking, if every single person those pollsters called actually answered, answered the poll and said who they were voting for instead of hanging up, I think it would be a lot higher for Trump. I'm serious. Um, it's like I said, you have to consider that most people like myself don't, especially if we're voting for Trump, we feel like we would be harassed, you know, by the pollsters or the organization doing the polls. Yeah, we're a little paranoid for sure. I mean, hell, I get shadow banned from social media for being a Trump guy. I like Trump. I really do. I think he's You know, he's not a perfect person, obviously, but he's fun. He's a fun dude. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that nobody's on this morning wanting to discuss this sort of shit. But I was just looking at those polls and I was like, well, I know Trump's ahead and that's great. But I think he's ahead by more than what people really think, what really people really know. Because if those people who normally wouldn't do a poll actually answered the phone and did the poll, they're the one, and usually these are the people who are voting for Trump. I think we would see a way different number. I think it would be way more in Trump's favor than anything. Look, people don't like Joe Biden. It's obvious. Look at any YouTube comment section on anything about Biden. It's pretty rough. I think that there's a movement happening, and it is the Make America Great Again movement. We're tired of seeing our economy in shambles. We don't like that. We want to see a little bit of strength in the office, and I felt like, you know, like Donald Trump or hate him, you know, he showed strength. I think Biden represents weakness, and he loves things like socialism. You know, any form of collectivism is stupid, by the way. I have a few friends who would say otherwise, but I think majority of forms, all forms, well, not all forms, but most forms of collectivism are dangerous, for sure, because it doesn't work well with humanity. Human beings were not meant to be collectivist creatures. Sorry, it's just true. At the end of the day, we're working for ourselves. We do want to help people, obviously, but there is the fine line of we work for ourselves and we work for others. It's true. And to quote, the person that you really answer to is waiting at home for you. Whether it's your wife, whether it's family, whatever. The person that you have to really answer to is waiting at home for you, is the old saying. I don't know how old that saying is, but I think it's old enough. But what my point is that the polls you see are not accurate. That's the reality. Because the truth is, if all of those people answered the phone call, hypothetically, and really answered who they're voting for, be Trump. Sorry. Whoop-de-doo. I think there's, and like I said, a lot of us who are voting for him don't like the government. We don't. We think that there's too many lifelong politicians. It's bad. It's bad. So I think that's what's really happening here, overall. But yeah, that's why I'm voting for him. I don't vote for him for, like, everybody thinks that, like, if you vote for Trump, you're just like a bad person. I don't understand that at all. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of his character, for sure. I mean, like, I do think that he has some major character defects. I ain't gonna lie. I really do. But at the same time, I'm just like, the economy was pretty good under Trump. Like, if you look past the COVID year, even during the COVID year, it wasn't the worst situation. We had one of the stronger economies. Look, when you have somebody who is pro-capitalist in the Oval Office, and I think capitalism is a great system, by the way. I know people say it's evil and all that shit, but honestly, truth be told, you wouldn't have a lot of the creature comforts you have without it. And I mean it when I say this, try, and I mean try, to invent a smartphone in a communist country. Try to invent a car in a communist country. Like, let's say, like, seriously, try to invent anything in a communist country. Most innovation and free thinking is stifled in communist and socialist countries. It is. If you think too far outside of the grain, because what communism and socialism represent is conventional thinking. Seriously. If you think against what the group thinks, you will suffer. You must be ostracized, that sort of thing. So there's no free thinking in any sort of collectivism. That's one of the reasons why I'm such a proud proponent of having things like a constitutional republic, 3 branches of government. I think that's important. I think it's important to have separation of powers. I believe it's scary to have one branch of anything control everything. That's scary. But these are my worldviews. I'm not really pro any politician. I'm pro certain ideas that I feel keep human beings from ripping each other apart, is what I'm trying to get at. And yeah, I do believe capitalism is a great system. It works with, the problem with socialism and communism is it tries to form human beings into something they're not. Human beings don't actually like to share. Fun fact. Human beings just don't. So what I'm trying to get at is this. What's really happening is this. Human beings, we just don't like to share. And communism and socialism force human beings to be something they're not. And that's why a lot of times socialist and communist nations tend to have higher depression rates, have completely failed, by the way. Look at what's happening with China. The youth of China do not see a future. They're depressed all the time. It's bad. There's a movement going on where they just don't care. They're just like, well, they want to die. That's dystopian as hell. We don't want to become like China. America, the reason America rocks is because we pride the individual. We pride free thinking. That's our pride right there. Is freedom of thought. Only way innovation moves forward, the only way technology moves forward, the only way the human beings as a whole move forward is to be able to freely think on their own. When you rely on the group to think for you, it's a scary thing. It's dangerous. You don't want the group to think for you. You want to think for yourself. And I hope that's a message people can get behind. However, not everybody thinks that way. Unfortunately, I don't want to force people to think any other way. But yeah. Oh boy. But anyway, yeah, I felt like I had to do this live video. It just kind of came to me a little bit. I was like, I gotta do this. So it felt good to kind of get it out. I just think that most of the polls are wrong that you see. I do think that more people are favoring Trump as a whole. Really do. But yeah. If anybody's got any thoughts on it, though, feel free to leave a comment, drop a like, drop a whatever, drop a deuce. But I want to thank you guys for taking the time to view. As always, I got the most loyal audience in the game. I can't thank you all enough. I appreciate y'all. Anyway.